You know, when we think about golf's record books, we usually think of the amazing stuff, right? Lowest scores, most majors won. But there's this whole other side to the record books, a much darker side, filled with achievements that absolutely no golfer ever wants their name next to. So today, let's dive into golf's most unwanted records.
Come on, be honest with yourself. We've all got that one hole seared into our memory. The one where you hit 2 out of bounds, chunked one in the lake, and then, I don't know, 3-putted from 6 feet. It's a painful memory, I know. We've all been there.
But here's the thing. As bad as your personal worst might feel, trust me, it's got nothing on what some of the pros have gone through. Their disasters make our weekend struggles look like a walk in the park.
Okay, first up, let's talk about that single moment of pure disaster. The one terrible hole where everything that can go wrong does go wrong, and it all unravels in a horrifyingly short amount of time.
Just look at that number, 23. That's not a golf score, that's a basketball score. But nope, that is the highest score ever made on a single hole in PGA Tour history. The unlucky owner of that record, a guy named Tommy Armour, who just kept finding trouble on a par 5 back in 1927.
But here's the absolute kicker, the part that's kind of hard to believe. Just 3 months after that 23, Tommy Armour went out and won the US Open. This guy was a 3-time major champion. It just proves that even the absolute legends of the game can have a moment where they completely, and I mean completely, fall apart.
Of course, you can't talk about blow-up holes without mentioning the man, the myth, the legend, John Daly. He famously carded an 18 on the par 5-6 at Bay Hill. And how did he do it? Well, he just kept hitting ball after ball into the water, 6 of them in a row.
And you just have to love the classic John Daly quote about it. He doesn't make excuses, he just leans right into it. Only John Daly could find a way to brag about his physical strength in the middle of a scorecard catastrophe.
So here they are, the Mount Rushmore of meltdowns. You've got Tommy Armour, the Hall of Famer with his 23. You've got Ray Ainsley, who made a 19 at a US Open, basically because he hit a ball while it was still moving in the water. Classic Daly with his 6-pack of water balls, and then there's poor Kevin Na, whose agonizing 16 happened with the cameras rolling on live television. You could feel the pain through the screen.
So, a single hole can be brutal, no doubt. But what happens when that nightmare doesn't end? When it just stretches out over an entire 18-hole round? Well, that's a different level of suffering entirely.
123. That is the highest single-round score in PGA Tour history, shot by Mike Reeser back in 1974. But hold on. Before you start laughing, you absolutely have to hear the story behind this number. It's not what you think.
See, Reeser had been thrown from a horse earlier that week and totally wrecked his shoulder. But if he withdrew, he might have lost his tour eligibility. So what did he do? He played the final 2 rounds one-handed, using only a 5-iron for every single shot. So that 123? It's not a record of failure, it's an incredible story of pure grit.
And just in case you think that's a one-off, look at this. Isaiah Alki, a World Golf Hall of Famer with over 70 wins worldwide, once shot a 128. No horse injury, no one-handed swinging, just one of those days that every single golfer dreads, where the game you love decides it hates you back. Bad days, bad rounds, they're awful, but at least they end. Some struggles, though, they don't. They can stretch into weeks, months, even years, and that's when it becomes a real long-term psychological grind.
I want you to imagine showing up to your job every single week for half a year and not getting paid. Not once. That's what Brendan Pappas went through, missing 26 straight cuts. And even Sandy Lyle, a guy with a green jacket and a claret jug, once missed 21 in a row. The mental toughness it takes just to keep showing up is hard to even comprehend.
And then there's the drought. In 1990, Robert Gomez holes out for eagle on the 72nd hole to win his first PGA Tour event. A star is born, and then crickets. For 15.5 years, he didn't win again. That's the longest gap between wins in tour history. Finally, in 2005, he got that second victory. 15.5 years.
But let's be real. Nothing, and I mean nothing, in golf compares to the sheer agony of having a major championship right there, in your grasp, and watching it all fall apart. This is the ultimate collapse.
Let's just talk about Greg Norman at the 1996 Masters. He started the final round with a commanding 6-shot lead. By the time he walked off the 18th green, he had lost by 5 shots. That is an 11-shot swing. It is, without a doubt, the most infamous and gut-wrenching collapse in the history of the sport.
And to his credit, Norman handled it with incredible class. But we all remember that image, don't we? Of him just bent over in disbelief on the 15th green. It became this perfect symbol for just how cruel the game of golf can be.
Now, if Norman's collapse was this slow, painful burn, Jean Van de Velde's at the 99 Open was a spectacular, unbelievable train wreck. All he needed on the last hole to win was a double bogey 6. A 6! Instead, a series of just baffling decisions led to a triple bogey 7, and he lost in a playoff.
And it gave us maybe the most surreal image in golf history. Van de Velde, shoes off, pants rolled up, standing in a creek, just staring at his ball as his chances of winning a major literally washed away. It was pure chaos.
So why are we so fascinated by these moments of failure? Well, there's a great German word for it, Schadenfreude. It's that feeling of getting a little bit of pleasure from someone else's misfortune. And I think we see these incredible athletes fail, and it reminds us that they're human, just like us. Okay, so we've seen all this carnage. Single-hole disasters, round-long nightmares, career-defining collapses. What are we supposed to take away from all this misery?
The lesson is pretty clear. Golf is the ultimate equalizer. It can humble anybody, at any time, no matter how good you are. What really defines these great players isn't perfection, it's resilience. It's how they bounce back. And hey, for the rest of us, it's a pretty good reminder that no matter how bad your last round was, it could have been a whole lot worse.
So I'll leave you with this question to chew on. What would be tougher to live with? The sudden, shocking, public humiliation of a one-hole meltdown, or the slow, quiet agony of a slump that lasts for years? Which one of these records would you absolutely, positively never want your name attached to?